Well, good afternoon, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great day. Um, it's getting a little warm here in Alabama, but I'm sure it's getting warm a whole lot of other places too. Um, so today we're going to talk about the Manitowoc Under-the-Counter Ice Machine. We're going to go through some of the installation of it. We're going to go through cleaning. And we're going to go through what I need to do as a general issue. Okay, so let's just go ahead and jump right in. We're going to go ahead and at the very end we'll sit and talk about issues. I will probably stop and ask a couple of times if anybody has any questions. Okay, so oops, I'm sorry, I got a little fast. So we're going to talk about the table of contents. We have just some general information, installation, maintenance, operations, troubleshooting, charts, and a wiring diagram. Actually, there is the wiring diagram that I have. I found an issue with, so I did delete that off of here. Okay, so the dimensions of this has legs. Okay, the legs are 3 inches. And if you put it flat on the ground, it'll be 3 inches shorter than this 19.69 inches wide by the 23.34 inches deep, and the 36 will get down to a 33-inch height. Okay, it pulls 5.2 amps. So you have to be careful about that. If you've got it on the overloaded circuit already, you will have problems because whenever this thing kicks into a defrost, my amperage is going to go up. Okay. It has a 0.5 horsepower compressor. It's 115 volts, 60 hertz. It's a single phase. It comes with a 6-foot cord and just the regular plug that we have in every house in the country almost. Okay, so locating the model and serial number. If I'm doing any work, I need to know where the model and serial number are. The model and serial information is located on the plate, on the evaporator compartment, and on the back of the ice machine, or behind the door, or under the front panel, or either I duplicated my thing about it being on the back of the unit. Okay, so the information is required to ensure both a proper warranty payment and or the correct parts ordering. I need that to be able to order the parts. And yes, Encompass does have parts for these. Okay, many times the serial number can be located behind the door of the unit. So if I'm lifting up the door and I should be able to read that serial number right there. The problem is once this unit gets to be about 3 or 4 years old, with the cleaning that is being done to it, if it's had the proper cleaning, it's going to wipe that plate clean, because this is not an etched plate. This is a printed plate. And no matter how good it is, if I'm using a cleaner on it, I am going to, it's going to stop. I'm not going to be able to read it after a while. So that's the reason it's in these 3 other locations. Okay. There's one on the very bottom. So if I unscrew the 2 screws on the very bottom, I can access that condensing area, and it will be right there. And then once again, if I can get to the back of the unit, I can just pull it off of the back of the unit. The problem you're going to have with, if it's on the back of the unit, if this is in a restaurant, I speak from experience. If you have any kind of roach or other kind of issue with people, these are very popular in bars. And I had one in the restaurant that I had, and we had it up under our bar. And with the spillage and everything else, it almost made it impossible. So thank goodness there were 3 places that I could access that and find find the correct so that I can order the correct parts for this. Okay, so how am I able to read my model information? Okay, the first character, okay, is a U. Okay, that's the series. Okay, the second character is, it will either be R, D, Y, F, or N. Okay, the most sought after is the N. That is the nugget machine. Nugget ice was made famous by oh man, I can't even think of the name of the restaurant. But everybody goes there and gets the nugget ice, and they actually sell it now, because I was by there the other day and got one because I like the ice myself, because it's not hard. It's kind of a crunchy. It's a crunchy, and the dentist told me to quit chewing on hard ice, which I used to eat just regular ice, which is the R. So that's what it tells me is, that's what that character represents. Okay, so the F, which is the next character over, tells me the refrigerant. So this one has 404A in it. Okay, if it had an E, it would tell me that I have 134A. If I had a K, it would tell me that I had R452A in it. Okay, that's all information that I need whenever I'm working on this unit. Okay, then I've got a capacity. This one is about 30. It will hold 33 pounds. Then it will tell me the last. Those are the numeric characters. Then the alpha character. Okay, that tells me whether it's air cooled, water cooled, remote air cooled, CVD air cooled. So you need to know all of this information whenever I'm looking at it. Okay. Now the one thing I will tell you is an ice machine does have voltage, high voltage. It's only 110, but you're dealing with water, and if I get zapped in the floor, 110 does not let go of you. It wants to hold you. Okay. If I want to know any warranty information, all I have to do is go in and type www.manitowocice.com/service/warranty. This will give me all the information that I could need. Okay. Gives me my warranty information, my warranty registration information, my warranty verification. Okay. Warranty coverage begins the day the unit was installed. Okay. So there is a date code on that contained in the serial number, but that's the manufacturer, not the date that it was installed. I will tell you that most of the time, if I am looking at my date of installation versus my production date, it's probably somewhere around 6 months to at least a year old. Okay. Some of these things don't get used, don't get installed in a place for a year and a half, 2 years. So I need to be careful, but I need to make sure that that the warranty registration has been filed. If the warranty registration has not been filed, I want to be able to talk to the customer and say, hey, listen, it doesn't show that you ever registered your product. It needs to be registered. I'm not going to be able to do it under a warranty because I don't, I have a date that is older than when it was probably installed. So I've got to be able to match those two. So you're going to need to call Manitowoc, and Manitowoc can either give you a pass, or they're going to say, I'm sorry, it's out of warranty. Okay. Does anybody have any questions Okay. So far, we've been through a good bit right there at the very beginning. I just want to make sure that I don't get too far along. And if you're like me, you forget what you had down as a question. So I'm going to wait just a minute and see if anybody has any questions. Okay, doesn't look like we have any questions. So we're going to go ahead and keep moving along. Okay, so the location of the ice machine is very important. Okay, it has got to meet the following criteria. And there's one on here that is not, that I will tell you right now. I had a customer that bought it, put it outside in his bar area, and then couldn't figure out why in the world it wouldn't make the ice that it was supposed to make. Okay. So the first criteria that this must meet is the location must be free of any contaminants. It can't be near a fryer or a grease producer, because it'll suck all of it into into the coils. It'll never clean I'll never get any ice production like it's supposed to. Not only that, but if I have it right next to the fryer or the grease producer, I actually will be able to taste it in my ice. Okay. Air temps must maintain air temperature between 50 and 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. So if I've got this in a kitchen and I have it right next to my fryer, I guarantee you, because the fryer is at least 350 degrees. Ours in the restaurant, the one that we used almost every time we dropped a batch of fries, was at 365 degrees. Okay, so that's where it's going to be. It's going to be so hot right there that it will never be able to keep up producing ice. Okay. No, okay, I lied. This is the. So I was telling you about, I had a customer that bought an ice machine, couldn't figure out why in the world it would not be able to produce the right amount of ice. Well, the problem was, I actually got there at one time at about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm working on it. I have it pulled out. I'm trying to figure out what in the world is going on. Well, as it got to be about 8:30, 9 o'clock, the sun started to rise, and as it rose from about nine till I came back. I actually went on another call, and I came back to check at like 1 o'clock. It was still in the heat of the sun in Tampa, Florida, and it's not going to produce any ice. It's so hot that as soon as that ice drops, it's melting. It's so hot. So you can't have it in any direct sunlight, or it can't, like I said, it can't be near any heat producer. Okay. So you've got to be able to support the weight of the machine and a bin full of ice. Some of these bins that you get, one of the ice machines, whenever I first started working and learning the trade, the company that I worked for, we had ice machines that the owner had purchased and loaned them on a lease system out to restaurants, bars. We had them at mom and pop hotel motels. And so it has to be able to support the weight of the machine and a full bin of ice. So I have to be very careful, because if I put this on something like a deck, I got to be able to have to be sure that it will support that. Some of the machines that we had would hold like 750 pounds of ice. So you got almost, 10. We have at the very end with it, if it was full and we had the weight of the machine and the weight of the bin and the weight of the ice, we almost had 1,000 pounds in there. So you got to have something that will support that kind of weight. If not, it's not going to work properly. Okay. So we have to meet all of the clearance requirements. We're going to talk about that in the next slide. There's a height, there's a weight, there's a how far it's slid back. There's all kinds of items that we have to do. Okay. We have to support proper airflow. I will tell you that the same place that we were, I had this manager of a restaurant, and they were very the ice machine would go off on the high limit because they had restricted the airflow, because they would actually take those little the little containers that you give people for food. They would stack those up on top of the ice machine, and it wouldn't allow the airflow, and then it would kick it off on the high side. I found this out, and lo and behold, I ended up marrying the woman. So it's got to be winterized if temperatures get below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and it will not make ice because the bin thermostat will never set. Okay. So if I'm going to level the ice machine, after moving the ice machine into the installation location, it must be leveled. Okay. It's going to follow these steps that I'm going to give you to level the ice machine. So I'm going to check the level of the ice machine from front to back and from side to side. If the ice machine is not level, I have to adjust the leveling legs. Okay, on each corner, there's 4. Each leg has a little extension that extends down from it. So that's something that you need to have. Okay, so here's a picture of that leg. I'm going to check the level of the ice machine after the adjustment. I'm going to repeat steps 2 and 3 until the ice machine is level from front to back and side to side. This will sometimes drive you crazy because if I don't level it from front to back, I'm going to have a pocket probably in the front. If it's lower in the front than it is in the back, I'm not going to get the ice out. These kinds of ice, this is not like in your refrigerator where it's in the freezer and it keeps it cold. This machine, the only way that this unit has any ice is by ice dropping out and it cooling it down. And this is not the bin itself does not have any refrigeration in it. Okay, so all wiring must conform to all local, state, and national codes. Like I said, this one was 115 volts, 60 hertz, single phase. So it has 5.2 amps. They do make a 230 volt, 60 hertz one phase, and that as you notice here, the amperage draw is almost in half. Not quite, but close. Okay. So that just goes to show you, if I have, it's just like a regular air conditioner. If I have a 110 volt air conditioner, I'm going to pull a whole lot more amps than if I have a 230 volt air conditioner. Okay. I'm not going to pull that many amps. Okay. The maximum allowable voltage is plus or minus 10% of the rated voltage on the ice machine. Okay. And that is shown on the model serial plate. Okay. The ice machine must be grounded in accordance to national and local codes. You can't cut off this is, like I said, this is a 110-volt ice machine. You can't cut off that ground plug. It has got to be, it's safety. You can't, if the inspector comes in and finds out that you have cut then you as a technician are in trouble. If you come out and you find a unit that somebody else has cut that, you have to stop, get the customer, walk away from it. Say, ma'am, I'm sorry, I can't work on this, because as soon as you do something to this unit, I just put my name on it, and it's me that is responsible. Okay? The other thing, whenever we had all of these ice machines at all these restaurants and motels and hotels, you can't use an extension cord. Used to drive me crazy. Somebody'd have a 110 volts thing and they'd have it stretched out on a 25-foot extension cord. You can't have an extension cord for any of these. This machine will not allow you to use an extension cord. You can't go in and rewire it and put a 50-foot cord on it. It's you've got the cord that you've got. That's what it's rated at. You cannot go in and change. If you do and you go in and you show up to it and you got that 50-foot extension cord that they have modified, you again, sorry, Ms. Smith, Mr. Smith, can't do anything for you. Once this happens, it becomes I'm the last person that worked on it, so I'm the one that would be held responsible. And it says right in your manual that you cannot do this. Okay. The other thing, it has to be on a separate fuse break circuit breaker. It's got to be provided for each ice machine. A disconnect must be provided for field wiring. So if I have to have it so that I can either flip the breaker or unplug it. So that's something that the electrician should do. You as a technician should not be wiring anything unless you're a certified electrical person. Okay. The electrical rating is used to separate the wire size of the electrical supply. The wire size or gauge also is dependent on the location, the materials used, the length of the run, all kinds of other things. So it's got to be determined by a qualified electrician. Okay. My water supply. This is another important feature. If I had a customer that had gone out and bought one of these from the supplier, they called in because it never worked. And the reason it never worked is because they had put this water supply on. You have to remember, this is this is 20 years ago, but they had it on a reverse osmosis system. So I never got the water pressure that I needed. So what happens is the water valve would actually leak. So it would never get cold because the water, it took so long for it to, the water to be able to cool off. Okay. So local water conditions may require treatment of the water to inhibit scale formation, filter sediment. The big one is remove chlorine. It improves the taste and the clarity. It's recommended that you have a filtered system. You need to put it on a water filter. Okay, that's what is most of the ice machines that you come with today. I was looking at one that was a really cheap ice maker that was at Amazon, and I was just looking for something to put out on my deck, and that unit actually came with a filter, a water filter, and that was under $400. So they're coming out with them now where they already have water filters on them, but you need to install that if you're installing it. If I'm going out and I get the call and it's a year old. That's one of the things that I need to check, is to make sure that the water filter has been changed, because if it has not been changed, I guarantee you it's no good, and I'm going to have to change it, and that's part of my problem. Okay. Follow the guidelines to install the water inlet lines. Connect to a potable water source only. Do not connect the ice machine to the hot water supply. Goes without saying, but I have walked in and found an ice machine on a hot water supply. We weren't the ones that installed it, and we ended up just sealing that valve off and put it on the cold water side. Okay, if the water pressure exceeds the recommended pressure, I may have to put in a pressure regulator. You can get that from your Encompass distributor, and they sell that. Excuse me, they sell that pressure regulator. Okay, I'm going to install a water shut-off valve for both ice making and the condensing water lines if I have a unit that has the water condenser. So I have to have a water shut-off valve for each of those, okay? And then I'm going to insulate the water lines to prevent condensation. Important, the water inlet connected to the water valve. This valve is located just behind the front panel of the ice machine. I need to make sure that I have it insulated, especially if I am up north and it gets kind of chilly. If I'm way down south, what will happen is I will get condensation off the water line, and it will look like I have a leak somewhere. So whenever I will go in, that's the first thing that I look at, is if I got any water coming off of the water line itself. And if so, I need to insulate that. I always carried in my truck about 6 feet of tubing, insulation for my tubing. Okay. Drains, super important. So I have to follow these guidelines, okay, whenever I'm installing a drain. This is the biggest problem that anybody has with a brand new installation. The thing is been the unit has been 3 months, and all of a sudden they seem to have this huge problem of water backing up into the drain. So what happens? A drain line must have a 1.5-inch drop per 5 feet, which is 2.5 centimeters per meter. Okay. So, and it can't create a trap. If you have a unit and the unit is, somebody has gone in and put in rubber tubing, which happens all the time, it creates a trap. It's not flat and then it run, okay? So a floor drain has got to be large enough to accommodate drainage from all the drains. I worked for a very short while for the school system in Florida, and I had to go back and fix 2 or 3 of the drains because they number one, they didn't have the right drop. So I had to redo that. And then I got there, and whenever I got done and it went through a cycle and it dumped the water out of the ice machine, it actually I had to have somebody come in and change the filter in the drain because it was getting clogged. It wasn't large enough for the drain for it to come out, to drain out of the system. So it backed up into the kitchen. Okay. So I'm going to insulate the drain line if I need to prevent any condensation. Right. Here is a picture of the back of this unit, okay? If you notice, there's an ice making water inlet tubing is 3/8. It needs to be 3/8. Don't put a 1/4 inch line on it. There's people that try to run a 1/4 inch line just like it's on the back of your refrigerator at home. That needs to be at least 3/8. Okay. And then I need a water shut off for that. The problem is 9 times out of 10, if I'm not the guy that installed it, I don't think about the water valve shut off, and I may or may not have a water shut off. I had one that I had to actually shut it off to the whole house because the guy didn't put a water shut off valve on it. So while I was there, I always carried my 3/8 water shut off valves with me. I charged her for a shut off, and I put that shut off on, and we were good to go. The next time somebody went out, they were very thankful that they didn't have to do the same thing that I did. Because the one thing you don't want to do is shut the water off to the house, because you can create more problems than you ever thought about. Okay. So then if you look, that's on the far right side. On the left side, that's your ice making water bin drain. Okay. And that goes down into a drain. If I do not have a drain, do I have any other options that I can do? You have to remember this machine. There are other options out there. Can anybody? Yes, you're exactly right, Dave. Okay. And they do have a great technical library. Um, so yeah, you're exactly right. It does require, every manufacturer requires that. Okay. So I got a question, Dave. I know that you know all of this. If I have an under the counter ice machine, what other choice do I have besides just dropping it into a drain? Well, you have, Dave, you actually have two choices. Okay. You can actually have a flow through valve, that's a one way valve, and that will keep it. Um, yes, you're exactly right. It's exactly there is a drain pump that you can buy. It used to be, I think it was called Little Giant. I'm not even sure they are out there anymore. As a manufacturer, after the COVID thing that we had a year and a half ago, 2 years, but that's who the company that I worked for. That's what they used, was Little Giant. Some of the manufacturers now are installed. They come with a pump. Once again, Manitowoc has one, Scotsman has one, Whirlpool has one, and that is my model and serial number. My model number tells me if it has a pump in it. So you need to be very familiar with the pump, if it's got it or not. Because if I don't have it, I may have to buy one if I don't have a drain. This unit cannot drain. It's got to have a break in the drain line. It can't back up into the system. Oh, there you go. Okay, Dave. Thanks. Um, you've got to have a break in the drain line, because if you don't, it has the possibility of flooding your ice with contaminants. If the ice machine was piped into the same drain as, let's say, the dishwasher or the water or the garbage disposal, I could end up with all kinds of contaminants in my ice and get everybody sick, and now I've got a huge problem. Okay. So this checklist, I actually had this checklist on my. I had a pad, I had a binder that was, except it was a metal binder, and I literally had this. Yeah. Oh yeah. So I had this installation checklist, but I used this checklist as whenever I went out and looked at an ice machine, okay, I still used this checklist. I had to put it on my, like I said, my my flip board. I had it laminate. I had a piece of tape over it, and then that way I could check the stuff off and then wipe it off with a little bit of alcohol, and I could tell, is the ice machine level? Does it have all the packaging has been removed? Don't really need that. Have all of the electrical and water connections been made? I still check that whenever I was checking my as my checklist. Has the supply voltage been tested and checked again at the rating on the nameplate? So I always made sure that that also happened. Um, is there a proper clearance around the ice machine for the air circulation? I already told you that I used to have a restaurant slash bar that the to go boxes, they would put them up on top of the ice machine in their cardboard boxes, and they were so large that it would restrict the airflow and kick it off on the high side. So you need to be aware of all these, and whenever you go in and you're in a restaurant, you need to look around and you need to note that stuff, and you just need to ask the question because I'm usually talking to the manager, for the manager of the day. I'm having my discussion with them. Hey, are you guys storing uh, plates or something back here? I'm seeing a lot of kind of trash stuff around. I'm wondering on what's going on, because this thing has to have the right clearance, and if it's kicked off on the high side, that's one of the indications. Okay, either that or that they haven't cleaned it. I used to have another one that was sat in the back of an office, and they would stack stuff up in the front of it, and of course, whenever they did that, it would it would cause it to trip off on the high side because it couldn't circulate the air again. Okay, so was the ice machine installed where ambient temperatures will remain within the range? And you're right, Dave. It does slow it down so much, um, but it will work at 110 degrees Fahrenheit, which is really high. Okay, has the ice machine been installed about where the water temperature range is between 33 and 90 degrees? A lot of the times there's nothing you can do. The only thing you could possibly do is to run that line um, through some kind of type of refrigeration line. I'm like a cooler or something like that, just to help cool it down if I'm at 100-degree water, which is about Miami's water temperature. Uh, are the electrical leads free from contact between any of the refrigeration lines? Has the owner or operator been instructed regarding the maintenance and the issues? So this is one thing that I always stopped and talked to my owner or my manager about. Have you been advised of the proper maintenance for this ice machine? If not, I'm going to spend 15-20 minutes with you, and we're going to go over the proper maintenance of the ice machine. Okay. Has the owner been completed the warranty card? So I always ask the customer, did you fill out the warranty card and send it in? Because you can go to the Manitowoc system and it will tell you whether they submitted the warranty card. And if the customer says, yeah, I submitted it, you can say, well, The bad thing is it's not showing up on the system. You probably want to call them and let them know that that I submitted it, but I'm not seeing it. And then you can give them the information that they need. Okay. Has the ice machine and bin been sanitized? This is all part of the maintenance. Okay. If you don't clean and sanitize this bin probably every 6 months, the customer needs to do it at least basic once a month for the bin area, because that there everybody's got their hands all around the edges and on the top. You've got to keep all of the sludge and the slime off. Dave can probably tell you. Yep, there you go. On the okay. That's right, Dave. That's a good point. Okay, so Dave says that he works on these all the time. That the health department, if I'm in a restaurant, they will shut me down for a nasty ice machine. They will not allow me to do anything, and because of the slime and the sludge, if I get that, I have problems. So I need to, as a customer or business manager, I need to make sure that this is being done monthly. Okay. Has the manual been given to the customer, owner, or operator? You know that because that's usually one of the first things that I ask for is, do you have a copy of the manual? They have an installation manual. And then I can go by and I can say, hey, why did you not follow these instructions? Why did you let them get away with this? Okay. Before starting the ice machine, all Manitowoc ice machines are factory operated and adjusted before they are shipped. They are run through a cycle. It used to be that they ran these things for 3 hours before they ever boxed them up and sent them away. Like I said, that's an old figure. I don't know what it is today, but they are checked at the factory to make sure that they work. Okay. To ensure the proper operation, follow the operator's operational checks. Check the ice machine. Completing the operational checks are the responsibilities of the owner/operator. Adjustments and maintenance procedures outlined in the manual are not covered under warranty. So if I go out and I have to adjust the ice thickness, because this comes in from the factory with the ice thickness already dialed in, that's not covered under warranty. Now I have had I used to be very close with my Manitowoc representative, and every once in a while I could get them to approve a under warranty call that was not. It was because I had adjusted the ice thickness, which is not covered under the manual, or maybe I had to re-level it and readjust the unit so that I had the proper drop for it to vent the water out properly. Okay, so the last thing I do is I check all the water fittings and the lines for leaks. Exactly. You're exactly right, Dave. If you're around something like the bar and you're around the yeast from beer, yeah, that has problems. And if you don't take care of it, you grow that funk. I call it funk, just because it's slime. I've seen it really bad because somebody hadn't taken care of it. So Do not put anything on it like boxes, which is what I was talking about, in front of the ice machine, on top of the ice machine, around the ice machine to inhibit the airflow. You have got to have that airflow, or else you're not gonna. It's gonna trip off on the high side. There are there are several times that I'm never going to get my maximum ice production, and that is because of airflow. Okay. Warning: personal injury or potential hazard. Do not operate equipment that has been misused, neglected, abused, damaged, or altered or modified from that manufacturer's specification, which is what I have told you about 3 times. So that this is actually straight out of the manual. So this actually tells you exactly how Manitowoc feels about this. And this is not just Manitowoc. This is any manufacturer of ice machines. Ross Temp, Hoshizaki, they all have this. If I'm anywhere near something that has been modified, abused, neglected, damaged, altered, I'm going to tell them, sorry, I can't work on it, and walk away from it. Okay. So the ice making sequence operation. So from the initial startup, okay, the first thing happens is the pressure equalization before the compressor starts. The hot gas valve is energized for 15 seconds to equalize the pressures during the initial refrigeration system startup. Okay, the refrigeration system startup, the compressor starts after the 15-second pressure equalization and remains on through the entire freeze and harvest cycles. Okay, the hot gas valve remains on for 5 seconds during the initial compressor start and then shuts off. At the same time the compressor starts, the condenser fan motor on any air-cooled model starts, and the fan motor starts, and it runs all the way through the entire freeze and harvest sequences. Okay, so as you can probably guess, this is another reason that I have to make sure that I've got the proper clearances for my airflow, because it would put such a strain on that fan motor, that condenser fan motor, that I end up replacing the fan motor because it's gone out prematurely. Okay, the fan motor is wired through a fan cycle pressure control. Therefore, it may cycle on and off. The compressor and the condenser fan motor are wired through a relay. As a result, anytime the relay coil is energized, the compressor and the fan motor are supplied with power. Okay, the freeze sequence. So what happens is the pre-chill, the compressor is on for 30 seconds prior to the water flow so that I can pre-chill that evaporator. The freeze, okay, then during the freeze, the water pump starts after my 30-second pre-chill, after the flow of water is directed through the evaporator and into the ice cube cell, okay, where it freezes. When sufficient ice forms, the water flow contacts the thickness probe. After approximately 7 seconds of continuous water contact, the harvest sequence is initiated. Okay, the ice machine cannot initiate a harvest sequence until a 6-minute freeze has been surpassed. Okay, so it has got to be at least 6 minutes for the harvest cycle to start. Okay. Excuse me. So the harvest sequence, what will happen is the water pump de-energizes. That will stop the flow over the evaporator. The rising level of water in the sump trough diverts water out of the overflow, purging excess minerals from the sump pump. The hot gas valve also opens. It diverts all the hot refrigerant gas into the evaporator. the refrigerant warms the evaporator up, causing those cubes to slide off as a one whole sheet. I will tell you that if I have it set really low, it may not all come off as a sheet. It may come out in little pieces and chunks. But that's usually I'm going to have to adjust my switch to make that happen properly. Okay, the sliding sheet of ice cube contacts the ice damper. It opens the bin switch. The momentary opening and reclosing of the bin switch terminates that harvest cycle, and it returns the ice machine to the freeze sequence. Okay, so we have now been through a harvest cycle. Okay, what happens next? As my ice starts to build, I have an automatic shutoff, just like I do in a regular refrigerator. Okay, when the ice storage bin is full at the end of the harvest cycle, the sheets of ice fall clear and the ice damper, and it will hold it down. After the ice damper is held open for 7 seconds, the ice machine will shut off, just like it does in a regular ice maker in a refrigerator. Okay, the ice machine remains off for 3 minutes before it can automatically restart. So if my ice, I'll tell you a perfect example. I have a little small ice maker that I use whenever I'm camping because I hate going and buying ice. That's the biggest rig that you can do, is to pay $3.50 for a 8-pound bag of ice, because it costs them about at the most about I think it was 24 cents for everything, for them to the run of the machine, the ice production, because it takes more than one drop for it to make 10 pounds. Well, it's not 10 anymore. It's only one of them is 7. The one that I bought was 7 pounds of ice. So I mean, that's the biggest joke that there is. So I went out and bought a little ice maker that I take to camping. All I do is keep it filled with water, and I have ice as much as I need. Okay, so but getting back to it, once it falls clear of that damper, okay, the bin switch recloses, and then the ice machine restarts. Okay. So let's go through some operational checks. Okay, your ice machine, once again, was factory operated and adjusted before it was shipped. Normally, a newly installed ice machine does not require any kind of adjustments. To ensure proper operation, always follow the operating guides when starting the ice machine for the first time, after a prolonged out of service, or after a cleaning or sanitizing routine. Okay, so let's talk about, we have a siphon system. To reduce mineral buildup and cleaning frequency, the water and the sump trough must be purged during each harvest cycle. When the water pump de-energizes, the level of the water trough rises above the standpipe, starting a siphoning action. The siphoning action stops when the water level at the sump drops back down below that. When the siphon action stops, a float valve refills the water trough to the correct level. So I'm going to follow the next 1 through 6 checks for the water level. Okay, there's my water float valve that we're talking about. One thing I like about this float valve is on this float valve, you can't see it, but there's a shutoff. Oh, there it is right there. There is a shutoff right there that I can shut the water valve off. If I have to, I can drive the little pin out of the float, and I can clean that float valve so that if I've gotten any trash in it, what will happen a lot of times is we used to rent these to large companies when they were building um, subdivisions, and the workers would come in and use the ice. Well, if they're running this and then they're shutting the water off and turning it back on, you get sand and dirt. So I could actually disassemble the water valve itself, turn it off. Turn it off. I didn't have to have a shut off behind it. I can actually shut it off right there at the float valve itself. I can disassemble the float valve. I can clean everything out in that float valve. I actually can now turn that water on a little bit and shoot some of the trash that was in there that I think I've gotten out, and make sure that I have it now cleaned out. Okay, so it can press it to on or press it off. It doesn't matter. Okay, my water level check right here. There's the siphon cap. 9 times out of 10, somebody's probably pull that siphon cap off, but it'll work without it. So check the water level while the ice machine is in the ice mode. The water pump is running. The correct water level is 1/4 of an inch to 3/8 of an inch below the top of the standpipe. Line of the water trough indicates the correct level. So whenever I pull this little siphon cap off, I can look at that little. I can look at the water level mark that is actually on that automatically. I'm sorry. I can check the water level mark where it's shown. You can see it right there. If you look right there at the diagram, you can tell where that water level is most of the time. Okay, so the float valve is factory set for the proper water level. If your adjustments are made, you need to do this. If I'm going to make an adjustment, I need to make it, and I hate to tell you this, you need to at least watch it do 3 dumps just to make sure that it doesn't actually change. I have been out and I have found that somebody went and worked on it and they adjusted the float valve and it was the wrong adjustment. So you need to let this go for at least 3 cycles. Okay. So I'm going to verify the ice machine is level. That also affects my float valve. I'm going to remove the siphon cap. I'm going to place the main on-off wash switch to the on position. Wait for the float valve to stop filling with water. I'm going to adjust the float valve to 1/4 to 3/8 below the standpipe. Loosen the 2 screws on the float valve bracket. Easy for me to say. I'm going to raise or lower that float valve assembly as needed. Tighten the screws. Move the main on-off switch toggle to off. The water level is in the trough, will rise above the standpipe and run down the drain. Then I'm going to replace the siphon cap and put it on the standpipe. And then I'm going to verify the water level and siphon action by repeating the steps a couple at least. Like I said, I like to do 3 times. I can be doing other things while I'm waiting for this thing to cycle. Usually I'm doing a cleaning job because I don't want to waste my time and just sit there with reading my phone. Okay. Ice bridge thickness. It comes pre-checked from the factory. Okay. And it should always be exactly the same. Okay. So my minimum ice weight should be somewhere between 1.1 pounds up to 1.3 pounds. So that this ice machine produces 1.1 to 1.3 pounds of ice with every drop. Okay. The ice thickness probe is factory preset to the ice bridge thickness of 1/8 of an inch, which is 3 millimeters. I'm going to inspect the bridge connecting to the tubes. It should be about 1/8 of an inch. If an adjustment is necessary, turn the ice thickness probe adjustment screw clockwise to increase the bridge thickness or counterclockwise to decrease the bridge thickness. So turning the adjustment a quarter of a turn will change the ice thickness about 1/16 of an inch. So you need to remember, if I'm turning it a third of a turn, I'm getting about 1/16 of an inch, either addition or removal of the thickness. So I should never need to turn it more than a third of a turn. Okay. This is what the ice bridge thickness looks like. It actually is on a little flap that you can move. The curtain, whenever the curtain dispenses and the ice drops out, it actually pivots in between all that, and you're good. So as you can see, the ice bridge thickness is 1/8 of an inch right there on the right side. The one thing you have to be really careful about is that the ice thickness probe wire, excuse me, and the bracket do not restrict the movement of the probe. So I have to make sure that it is freely movable, because if it's not, I'm never going to get the right thickness. Okay. Now we're going to go through the general cleaning procedure. Okay. This is going to be probably about 15 or 20 minutes long. Okay. So this is something, like I said, this procedure needs to be done at least once every 2 to 3 months. It's got to be done. If it's not, I'm going to have all kinds of other problems. Okay. So my general sanitizing and cleaning solution procedures. Okay. I'm going to clean and sanitize the ice machine this says every 6 months. Yes. You can use a drill bit, or you can use a piece of 12-2 wire is about right. And I always kept a piece of 12-2 wire because whenever I was jumping out a Whirlpool washer, that's what I always used, was a 12-2 wire about 8 inches long, and I would jump out the lid switch with it. Okay. So I'm going to clean the ice machine every 6 months for efficient operation. If the ice machine requires more frequently clean and sanitize, it needs to be done with a quality service, because this is really, if you do it wrong, you can get people sick. Okay. Do not use ice machine cleaner. Only one you want to use is the ice machine cleaner from Manitowoc. That's what they recommend. Okay. There's a part number right there. Encompass has this part. All you have to do is call them up and say, hey, I need some Manitowoc ice machine cleaner and sanitizer. If I'm ordering cleaner, I probably am going to be needing sanitizer at the exact same time. Okay. So one ice machine cleaner is used to remove lime scale and mineral deposits. Ice machine sanitizer is what disinfects and removes algae and slime. Okay. Set the toggle switch to the off position. Once I set that toggle switch to the off position, I have to let it go. I will turn it off, and then I've got to let all the ice get off of the evaporator. Okay. Don't go in there with a screwdriver and start picking out ice chunks. Just let it fall naturally. You can be scooping the bin out, because you're going to have ice in the bin anyway. Be scooping that bin out. Once you get done scooping all the bin out, you should be close to having it all drop off. Once it all drops off, I'm going to advance. Okay. going to switch the toggle switch off to back to the off position. Once I do that, I'm going to remove all ice from the bin, start the cleaning cycle. Once it all gets down, I'm going to turn it to clean. Okay. This, like I said, this has 3 positions. It has off, it has on, and it has clean. So I'm going to use that clean because neither the compressor nor the fan motors come on whenever it's in the clean cycle. All the thing that it does is the water runs, the water pump runs. Okay. So I'm going to add the proper amount of my Manitowoc ice machine cleaner to the water trough. I'm going to wait until the clean cycle is complete. It should be about 22 minutes. I used to, it's just, you need to kind of watch your watch. Then place it into the toggle switch in the off position, disconnect the power and the water supplies to the ice machine, remove all the parts that I for it, for cleaning. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to remove the 2 thumb screws and the water pump cover. Remove the vinyl hose connecting the water pump to the water distribution tube. Then I'm going to disconnect the water pump power cord, loosen the screws securing the pump mounting bracket to the bulkhead. I'm going to lift the pump and the bracket assembly off the mounting screws. This is shown right here where you're going to do it. How you're going to do it. So you take those 2 screws out right there. Then you're going to be able to take those 2 screws out of the pump. Then I'm going to do that. I'm going to remove the ice thickness probes. I'm going to press the 2 sides. So all I'm doing is pinching it on the sides. If I have it, I'm going to pinch in and it'll come right down. I can do one of 2 things. I can either, if I can get to it, I can actually disconnect. There's a little Mullinex plug, and I can disconnect it from the Mullinex plug, but that's around on the side, so you have to be careful whenever you're doing that. So I'm going to pop the bulkhead grommet out of the back wall. If I can insert, you can do it with your fingernails. I always had to use a little flat screwdriver that I kept in my pocket, and then then I can pry that grommet forward. Then I can pull the bulkhead grommet and the wire forward until I can get to that little connector. And then I'm going to disconnect the wire lead from that connector. After I do that, I'm going to mix it with a solution of 50 of Manitowoc ice machine cleaner and water. I'm going to use 2 ounces of cleaner to 16 ounces of water. I'm going to put that in a container. I always kept a 5-gallon bucket with me for cleaning. I had a cleaning bucket that I used. Then I'm going to soak the ice thickness probe in a minimum of 10 minutes. I'm going to clean the ice thickness probe surfaces and verify the ice thickness probe cavity is clean. I'm going to rinse thoroughly clean with water, then dry completely. Incomplete rinsing and drying of the ice machine probe can cause premature harvest. Okay. So one of the other things I'm going to need to do, if you look right there, is your ice thickness probe right there. But I need to remove the water distribution tube. Loosen it with the 2 thumb screws that are shown right there. And then I'm going to lift that distribution tube up and off the thumb screws. I'm going to disconnect that. There's a little plastic water line that comes in. I'm going to disconnect that plastic water line. Once I get all of that out of the machine itself, I'm going to twist the barb in until the tabs come up and it shows you with the key. So the keyway, you see it right there. I'm going to pull the inner tube out. Once I get that inner tube out, I'm going to remove the float valve, turn the splash. Spit it out a minute. I'm going to turn the shield counterclockwise 1 or 2 turns. I'm going to pull the float valve forward and off the mounting bracket, disconnect the water inlet tube from the float valve and the compression fitting. And then I'm going to remove the cap and the filter for cleaning. Once again, I have to have this thing turned off, because if it's not turned off, I'm going to have water everywhere. It doesn't take you but one time to figure that out. Okay. The fun part is now I have to remove the bin door. And this is kind of a interesting way to, it's first time you do it, it's a little bit difficult. So I'm going to grasp the rear of the bin door and pull the bin door forward about 5 inches. We'll ride up onto the track and slide the slot backwards to the stop tab. When applying pressure against the bin door, pull down in the rear of the bin door track until the door pins clear the stop tabs. Okay. Then I'm going to slide the rear bin door off and the end off at the end, and then below the rear door track, I'm going to slide the bin door forward, allowing the back of the door to lower into the bin. Then I'm going to continue forward with the bin door until the front pins move out past the track. I'm going to lift that right side of the door up, and then the pins will clear the track, and then I can remove the door from the bin. I have to remove all of this. This is all part of the proper cleaning. So I've got to remove all this, because you would be surprised at the amount of gunk that builds up. Okay. So I'm going to mix a solution of cleaner with warm water. Depending on the amount of mineral buildup, a larger quantity of solution may be required. As long as I'm doing this regularly, I probably shouldn't have that problem, unless I'm in a high area where there's a lot of contaminants. A good example is in Florida, in the Gulf Coast area. You get a lot of mineral deposits and everything. So I may need to use a larger quantity. I'm probably going to do it one time and see if I'm going to have to redo it. But then this way I've got it the next time I know it. Okay. I'm going to use the ratio on the table. I'm going to mix enough of this. So I'm going to mix 1 gallon to 16 ounces of cleaner. So I have 1 thing of water, 1 gallon of water to 16 ounces of cleaner. Now I'm going to take half of the cleaner. I'm going to separate it. I'm going to take half of it, and I'm going to clean I'm going to use that solution to clean all the components. The condenser solution will foam when it comes in contact with lime scale and mineral deposits. On the foaming stops, use a soft bristle brush that is a non-metallic bristle. This is a soft bristle horsehair brush. Okay. Sponge or cloth. Do not use a wire brush. Be careful to clean all the parts. I'm going to soak the parts for 5 minutes. If I have something that's really bad, I can do it up to 20 minutes for heavily scaled parts. Then I'm going to rinse all the components with clean water. Okay. After the components are soaking, I'm going to take the other half of the cleaner. I'm going to clean the food zone surfaces from the ice machine in the bin. Use a nylon brush or a cloth to thoroughly clean the ice machine areas. The evaporator plastic parts, including the top, bottom, and sides, and then the bin sides, the bin bottom, sides, and top. Then I'm going to rinse all the areas with clean water. Okay. Then the fourth thing I'm going to do is going to mix a solution of sanitizer and warm water. Once I do that, I'm going to mix 6 gallons to 4 ounces of sanitizer. Once I do that, I use half of the sanitizer solution to sanitize all of those components that I have. Okay. Um, I use a cloth to liberally apply the solution to all of the surfaces. The removed parts are that soap, the soap that I've been doing, and then I can soak that in the sanitizer solution. One thing that you can never do, once I have sanitized, I cannot use anything to rinse it. Once it stays sanitized, it stays sanitized. You can't rinse it with anything. Okay. That's for anything in this whole thing. I had people that were trying to sanitize the bin, and they would spray the sanitizer in it, and then they would go behind and try to throw water on it. That's not right. You can't do that. You actually cause the problem that you just tried to fix. You just cause it to re-happen. Okay. So I'm going to use half of the sanitizer solution to sanitize all the food zone surfaces of the ice machine and bin. Use a cloth sponge and liberally apply the solution. When sanitized, pay particularly attention to the following areas: the evaporator plastic parts. Okay, that includes the top and bottom and sides. The bin, the bottom and sides of the bin, and the top. Do not rinse the sanitized areas. Replace all the removed components, reapply power and water to the ice machine, and then I'm going to place the toggle switch into the wash position, because you actually have all of your hand has all of these minerals and oils on them. So I'm trying to sanitize everything. Add the proper amount of Manitowoc ice machine solution. Oh, we just went through all of this. I doubled that slide. So I'm going to use half of the sanitizer solution to sanitize all the food zones, the evaporator, the bins, anything in the bins. I'm going to replace all the removed components. Then I'm going to reapply the power. Then I'm going to place the toggle switch to the on position. Okay. So that is the proper way. Exit my first screen. That is the proper way to sanitize an ice machine. Does anybody have any questions? Dave, are you still with me? Okay, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking time out of your day for us to go through this. Okay. Thanks for all your help, Dave. But I've got just a few minutes that I'm gonna drop a minute and 30-second presentation on you. That's all about Encompass. They are the ones that supply our virtual classes. They pay for them. You don't have to pay for them. They pay me. I'm not an employee. I'm not under the employment of Encompass. But they allow me to come and try to share my knowledge that I have with you. So does anybody have any other problems? Have you have any issues concerning the ice machine? Okay. So we have another class, okay, that will be on I'm going to show you right here. It is refrigerator schematics, how to properly read and understand refrigerator schematics. That's on the 24th, which is 2 days from now, at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 8 a.m. for me. And for Dave, that's going to be 8, 7, 6. So he's at 6. Then on Tuesday of the next week, I have the Hanis refrigerator. This is a virtual training. I'm trying to get that trainer to come on with me. He doesn't know if he's going to be able to make it or not, because if you look, there is a class right here in Lawrenceville for the freestanding range, that is April the 23rd at 1 p.m. And ours is the 29th. He said that he is out that whole week, but hopes that he can make it. Okay. I'm going to advance down to May. Okay. So we have a virtual class on the Magic Chef MCS dryer. We got a refrigeration class 101 for troubleshooting basics of refrigeration repair. Okay. If you go, you can register that one. We have a lock ring for seal system. That's on May the 8th. Then GE is going to be at the Davie Training Center on May the 8th also. They're going to do refrigerators and dishwasher. Okay, I really like the GE product since they have made several of the changes. I really like it. One of the other things that's going on is on May the 5th, 12th through the 15th, there is a 4-day seal system hands-on training. Okay, if you look, that's $975. That is a cost to you. Then we have Amana Tips and Tricks for the dryer. That's on May the 13th. Then we have Medea Refrigeration and PTAC Systems. That is at the Dallas Training Center. So those of you that are near the Dallas Center, you can run down through there. Then there's a 2-day training in lock ring system there in Lawrenceville. Okay. On May the 15th, we have Smart HQ. Okay. Traditional diagnosis, that's virtual. So that will be on this one. Okay. Then we have the DW8EM tips and tricks, lock ring again on May 22nd. And then Medea Refrigeration again in Lawrenceville. Then we have selling a PMP, which is a preventative maintenance plan to a customer. I have a class on that. Then we have an American, a basic microwave repair. That's through the month of May. So, yes, that's what I thought, Dave. 6 a.m., I was right. Okay, so everybody, I just want to thank you for your time. Take a few minutes. Is a minute and 30 seconds is how long this one lasts. So go ahead and please watch this. Thank you again and have a great